Yo, what's up? Welcome in to the DFS Huddle. Kyle provides, Eric Toft. We're going to break down the Millionaire Maker slate, the Sunday main slate, Fanduel, and Draftkings. Can go position by position, who we like, who we don't like. First things first, thank you to everyone watching live, everyone who watches this later. We appreciate you guys. Please like, subscribe, follow on Twitter, all that good stuff. You see our Twitter handles there on the screen. If you want more from us, like last week, we didn't have time for videos and I had hurt myself, all sorts of shit. We have our Patreon running, the links in the bios, video description. $15 a month. We put all of our lineups and rankings, all that stuff's in the Patreon. You can join that. If you want more from us, going to have some college football tonight, some WNBA, all sorts of good stuff. But coming into this week, Eric, it's kind of a different Sunday slate, right? So we don't have the bye weeks, but we still have a smaller slate because of the Thursday night. I think I lost Eric here for a second. We'll have him back, but we got a little bit different slate. We have the Sunday morning game, which takes a little bit off of it. The doubleheader on Monday night drops a few games, so it's an 11-game slate. We go over the players we like, create a player pool, talk lineup strategy. If you're live, throw your questions in the chat box. I have it up. If you got a question you want to answer live about a player, lineup building, whatever you got, throw it in the chat box. We'll wait for Eric to get back here momentarily. So I'll just start at quarterback. So let's start at the top. Josh Allen, right? Going up against the Saints. The Saints have allowed 7th most fantasy points to opposing quarterback, or 8th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks so far. I like Josh Allen. The upside's huge. He's 7-7 on DraftKings, 9K on Fanduel. The concern would be, of course, if they just blow them out and they don't really need to run. Do they have that sort of urgency? If this is 26-6, third quarter, how much urgency will Josh Allen, actually have to run? So that would be my concern there. I love Lamar against that game. Should be a lot of fun against Kansas City, but really Jalen Hurts for me. If I'm looking at the top tier quarterbacks in terms of price, Jalen Hurts, 6-7 DraftKings, 8-5 Fanduel. Love this matchup against Tampa Bay. Look, both teams are going to struggle to run the ball in this one. Vita Vea is a beast inside. Saquon Barkley can break loose at any time, don't get me wrong. But I think they're going to have to throw it. That Buccaneers secondary is a little banged up. Tampa Bay is going to have to throw it because you're not running up the gut on that Eagles defense with that beat-up offensive line in Tampa Bay. So I like both Hurts and Baker quite a bit this week. Right there, I think that's the sweet spot for them. Herbert against the Giants. We've seen the Giants give up a ton of fantasy points to quarterbacks so far. I think Justin Herbert has a bounce back from a tougher game last week. Snipe Gaming TV, where's the link for the Patreon? We have that in the video description on YouTube. You can find it. It's on the Twitter page as well. It's on Eric's Twitter as well. The link for the Patreon is there. DFS Huddle. If you go to patreon.com, look for the DFS Huddle. You'll find us there. Appreciate you, Snipe Gaming. Welcome in to the show. Next, like Mahomes, I don't know. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. Baltimore's gotten torched by quarterbacks. They are getting Xavier Worthy back. We'll see there. And just for me, a couple value guys down here that I think are worth a look. Caleb Williams, 5-8 DraftKings, 7-5 FanDuel. Raiders, need I say more? And I think the Raiders offense is going to keep it closer with that Bears defense. So I think the pedal will be to the metal. So if you're looking for some value, Caleb Williams. And in that same game, Geno Smith, quietly over 20 DraftKings points the last 2 weeks, 5-4 DraftKings, 7-2 FanDuel. Bears have allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. I think Geno Smith makes some sense for value as well. Who are you looking at quarterback, Eric?
I absolutely love Patrick Mahomes. When you look at it, the Ravens have given up the 5th most points to opposing quarterbacks this year. This isn't a team that I really am, quote unquote, scared at defensively like I've been in the past. Offensive line, with how bad the run game has been for the Chiefs, there is some huge rushing upside for Patrick Mahomes. I'm looking at him on DraftKings. He's only $6,000 on DK, which I absolutely love. Caleb Williams and Geno Smith, love them for the defensive matchup. I think that's going to be on the fast turf of Allegiant Field. That's going to be up and down. One guy, 5,500. I know it's have really struggled, but when we look at Carolina struggles defending the run, struggles against the pass. I think this is going to be a great bounce back game for the New England Patriots. like, do we go May? Do we go Hunter Henry? Do we attack one of the wide receivers? Do we do the Russian roulette thing with a running back? I definitely want a piece of the Patriots. Maybe you just play Drake May to get everybody. And what about the kid?
I was going to ask you about
Dart.
Jackson Dart, super cheap. What do you think here?
4,500. You're going to get the rushing upside. He's going to run a lot more. He's dual threat. If you're looking for that, I absolutely love it. I think he could put up some points here, especially with how bad the Giants' offensive line is. It's going to open up some yards for some rushing lanes. Because say what you want about Russell Wilson, he was running the ball for positive yardage. So Jackson Dart, 4,500, intriguing to me, and also Michael Penix.
Dude.
When we look at the Commanders, their DBs, Lattimore's 91 and the other guy's 96 in PFF. Grading. When we look at the Commanders overall, defensively, they are graded a little bit high. They're graded 12th DVOA, but I still think you can pass on them. I think this is going to be a bounce back spot for Penix and Drake London. When you look at Drake London, he averages 30 more yards per game in the receiving game in indoor games versus outdoor games. So I definitely that's kind of my quarterback where my head is. Pay down for Dart, mid-tier options of Penix, May, and Mahomes. And obviously Lamar. My issue with Josh Allen is what happens if this is a blowout?
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly right.
They just run away with
That's
it.
exactly right.
You know
So I'm of two minds with the blowout. So it's either two things. Number one, he's put up a ton of points. They're up 42-3, and the game's over. But whatever, he's put up a ton of points. Or do we get, hey, this is 26-6. James Cook's ran in a couple of touchdowns. There's no reason for Josh Allen to be throwing the ball anymore. That's where the concern is. So it could go both ways, right? He could go out and light it up, throw 4 touchdowns in the first half. Doesn't fucking matter if he doesn't throw the second half. You've already got the points you need. That's kind of the balancing act you're playing with Josh Allen, right?
And the one thing with that is Saints are 10th DVOA defending the run. Their rush defense has been pretty good. Maybe they are going to be forced to throw the ball a little bit more. And if you want a piece of that game, that would be a different way to look at it, because I think everyone's just going to be naturally attracted to James Cook, who's looking to set history. If he scores a touchdown and has 100 scrimmage yards in this game, he's going to be the first running back ever to do that to start the season, have at least 1 touchdown and over 100 scrimmage yards in 4 games to start the year.
That stud just sitting on my guillotine fantasy team league, just racking up the points for me. I love me some James Cook. Michael Penix is interesting. And look, I know people are like, Michael Penix, he sucks. And look what the fuck you did. I mean, that's exactly why you play him. Like, I don't know how to stress that enough. Everyone's down on him. Isn't that football? Did anyone think Cleveland's going to beat Green Bay? No, it's always the weird, unexpected shit, always in sports. Penix could be an interesting spot. It is a good bounce back spot against that Washington secondary, where their bright spot was supposed to be Marshawn Lattimore. Not so much. He looks like he's fallen off. Sanistrell's not very good. There's some weaknesses in that Washington secondary. I completely agree.
And I don't mean to toot my own fiddle, but in our Patreon, I did put plus 380 Browns money line.
Yes, you sure did. Yes. I mean, a lot of good things in the Patreon. The Patreon's paid for itself so many times. I just click it. It's $15 a month. 50 cents a fucking day, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's just a bunch of good shit. If you want to win, that's where it's at. Let's go to running backs. Who do you like at running back this week?
There is one running backs, and I think this is going to be the first week he gets into the box. I'm talking Ashton Genty. I think he's going to just run over this Chicago front. When you look at Chicago, they are 26th DVOA against the run. Grady Jarrett has already been ruled out. He is one of their best run stoppers. When we look at the Bears up front on PFF, the Sweat is the only guy rated inside the top 50. And when you look at him, his run grade is only 52.8. He's 87 out of 109 edges. So this front, especially without Grady Jarrett, isn't able to stop the run. I think this is going to be a huge running game for Ashton Gentry. If you're looking to get contrarian, I feel that when people look at this game, they're going to go for the Bowers, the Smith, the Williams, Aduze. I don't think people are really going to look at Ashton Gentry, so I'm definitely invested in him. Flip side of the ball, I kind of like Swift too. I think Swift's going to be overlooked. I know he has a questionable tag right now. He's had a couple big plays that have resulted in a touchdown. He's obviously due for some positive touchdown regression for how much he is touching the ball. Bijan Robinson against Washington. Washington's front is historically awful. They're giving up 4.2 yards a carry, over 100 yards per game on the ground. I think he's looking for a game. These other top end guys, I really don't want a piece of Gibbs. I don't want a piece of Barkley. Don't want a piece of Taylor. The two interesting ones. Do we trust that the Chargers are going to be able to run the ball against that Giants front? There's no real competition for Hampton. That one really sticks out to me. Pollard is getting the majority of the carries for the Titans. Houston can't tackle, and they're struggling stopping the run. There is no world there. How is Cam Scatterboo 5,500?
Yeah,
there's no world. I think that's way too much.
That Chargers defense is tough. So that's my word. I like some of the value on the Giants, but man, that Chargers defense, when they're ready, the injury to Khalil Mack's a big one, but that defense is pretty good.
And the other one, now am I just trying to overthink the board here? Titans have been awful this year stopping the run. I'm going to say it right here, Nick Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Do we look for some Chubb? Or the other guy, Marks, has been getting a lot of run. He's been in the passing game as well. He's a little bit more of a pay down option at 4,400. And the last one I am going to leave you with, and you can answer this one. Panthers are awful defending the run. The Russian roulette of Patriots running backs. Who am I going with?
Ramondre Stevenson continues to fumble. But it seems like every time red zone pops on the screen and it's the Patriots, it's big play, Ramondre Stevenson, and it's either for a first down, a touchdown, or a fucking fumble. So I don't know. That one's tough. For me, looking at the top, I think Christian McCaffrey's live. Just look at last week and 25 targets, weeks 2 and 4, or weeks 1 and 3. 15 targets last week in the passing game, 17 carries against Jacksonville. Could have Brock Purdy back. Give me some Christian McCaffrey. Absolutely. The foul, Bijan Robinson is in line for a big game. He's only had 20. He's not getting a ton of carries, but he's involved in the passing game as well. So I like Bijan. James Cook. Now, we just talked about it, but the Saints are still allowing the 7th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Game script's going to be all about just running it in and running the ball here. I think James Cook 7,185 makes sense. Derrick Henry, I think, is in line for a big game. The fumbles, he's frustrated with it. Chiefs, this is a whole different animal, this type of running game here. I think Derrick Henry, if you're looking at the tops, another guy that could have a big week. I love the Tony Pollard call. I like both him and Quinshon Judkins, even against Detroit there. 18 carries in his first game back for Judkins. They're going to use him in short yardage in the red zone. Game they're going to need to score points. I don't mind Quinshon Judkins. If you mentioned Cam Scatterboo. Chargers, 3rd fewest fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs so far. So it's a tough matchup there. Looking for some value, just one guy. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt looks like he practiced in full today, but he's been limited all week. Obviously, no Austin Eckler. Falcons are sneaky good against running backs, but Chris Rodriguez Jr. got 11 carries last week. They let him go a little bit.
Yeah,
Falcons good against running, but he's only 4,200 DraftKings. Like if you're looking for like a dart throw, someone like him, if DeAndre Swift doesn't play, Kyle Monangai will be someone you could look at way deep down if you're just looking for that sort of tournament dart throw. That's what I got at running back.
And one thing about Rodriguez, he played the entire first quarter and in the first half of the second quarter. So they gave him the run for the first unit. Another guy I wanted to mention was Kyron Williams. I mean, he's only at 6,300. DeForest Buckner missed practice with a back. Glover Stewart is on schedule to play. He is banged up as well. If DeForest Buckner and Glover Stewart don't play, that is a great situation for Kyron Williams to be in. I know the Colts defense has been lights out to start the year, but I mean, you're missing those two studs, that's something I definitely want to be invested in.
Absolutely. Kyron Williams, true number one workhorse. Blake Corum gets a few carries, but really when you look around the spectrum of the league in terms of guys who just get the vast majority of the snaps and the work, you got guys like Jonathan Taylor, but Kyron Williams, 76% of the offensive snaps right now. He's a true, workhorse type back. 81% Christian McCaffrey, 86% Saquon Barkley so far, just sort of looking at the snap hounds. You mentioned Tony Pollard, 90% of the offensive snaps so far this year. Tony Pollard's been on the field. Love that matchup against Houston. I think Tony Pollard's a sweet spot. And Genty, obviously, it's time for him to get going. He's getting, close to 20 carries a game. This could be the week against a bad Bears front. I couldn't agree.
Now, this would be more of a Millie Maker idea. Baltimore is quietly 30th DVOA. The defensive lineman, whose name starts with M, who I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, is out with the neck. They give up 2 more yards per carry when he doesn't play. In a Millionaire Maker lineup.
Oof. We're talking Chiefs running backs here?
Yeah. Pacheco, Hunt. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
The matchup is there. The path is there for them to have success running the ball. But it's kind of like the Patriots. You don't know how it's going to plan out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't know which guy it's going to be. If you bear with me 1 second, I'm looking at the Chiefs red zone stats.
Feels like Kareem Hunt will just poach any touchdown you'll ever possibly get with Pacheco. He'll just poach it.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it right now. Inside the 20, Hunt and Mahomes have 3 carries, Pacheco 2. The Chiefs have only had 1 rushing attempt inside the 5 this season to start the year, and it was Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt. Of course it was. It will be till the end of time. All right, yeah, running back's interesting. Let's get to wide receiver here. Who are you looking at wide receivers this week?
I got another rookie that I think is going to get in the box. He's going up against the Patriots defense, who I think they're going to be missing their top DB. I mean, their top DB has had a hamstring injury since the 4th of July, Christian Gonzalez. I kind of like Terrence McMillan here. I know he's got the questionable tag. I think he's going to be a go. Clear number 1.
Carolina kid, Carolina McMillan.
McMillan. Patriots have struggled against the run, against the pass, and Gonzalez, even if he plays, he hasn't played. He's been out of practice since the 4th of July, man, with a hamstring injury. We don't know it's the weirdest thing in the world. I think it's a great matchup when we look and he's kind of established himself as the wide receiver number 1 in terms of the top guys. Puka should eat this Colts zone defense alive. He's graded out PFF's best guy against zone coverage. St. Brown will have a good matchup. Zay Flowers. I think this is a huge bounce back game for him after he disappointed on Monday Night Football. The Eagles are going to have to throw the ball.
Yep.
I don't think they're going to be able to run that much. Obviously, that being said, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith both in line. If you want a piece of the Raiders game, Browns game, Oduzze has clearly established himself as the wide receiver number 1. $6,000, Deebo Samuel. No Scary Terry. No Austin Eckler. I mean, he's going to be the featured guy. He's going to be their weapon. He could get some more RB run too. Chris Godwin is coming back. We've talked about it before. You want to attack the 3rd DB of the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm definitely interested.
Well, keep in mind, so that 3rd DB is on the perimeter, and the slot is where they're good. Cooper DeJean in the slot, you don't want to attack. It's on the perimeter against Mitchell and Adoree Jackson on that outside. That's why there is a sneaky guy, Ryan Miller. I bet him for a touchdown, plus 800 score touchdown.
Yeah.
No Mike Evans. Chris Godwin's plays in the slot. Ibuka likes a lot of the slot. Sterling Shepard, a slot guy. Ryan Miller, we've already seen him get a big touchdown for Tampa Bay, like deep sleeper. Ryan Miller, just write that down. I bet at 8-1 to score a touchdown. I think there's something there in that Tampa Bay game. Sorry, go ahead, keep going.
I like it. I like that one. A couple more down the slate a little bit. obviously, Michael Pittman against the Rams. You and I were talking about before the show. Pittman is the clear-cut number one there, leads them in targets and everything, matching up against the Rams, averaging 15.8 fantasy points per game on DK. I believe a Calvin Ridley bounce back game is coming. Maybe that's just me, but you can't have this many targets and produce shit, if that makes sense. Pardon my language. I think he's in line to have a solid game. And last, and certainly not least, you already mentioned him, Sterling Shepard. I really think the connection with Shepard and Baker is real. Looking down at it, he's only $4,000. He gets thrown the ball a lot.
Yeah, agreed. I completely agree. Are you still there? You might have froze. Oh no, you are there. You were sitting very still. Nicely done. I used to. My boy Dion sits very still too. I'm like, dude, are you frozen? And it's like you can't do that to me. I think you're dying. You're like dead on the screen. All right. So you mentioned Puka. I mean, there's no number one receiver more involved. Devontae Adams is banged up. I don't know if he's going to play. Puka Nacua, of course. Right below him, Nico Collins. 11 targets last week. I don't love the Texans passing game. I think CJ Stroud he's in the bottom 3 of worst starting quarterbacks right now for me in the NFL. If everyone said, I think CJ Stroud is absolute fucking dog shit. He is absolutely terrible. Should not be a starting quarterback. But the Titans secondary, it's the only secondary in the league where all 3 of their starters are in the green, meaning they're giving up over 0.36 fantasy points per route ran against. They're being targeted 18% or more, positive fantasy value across the board. So I think Nico Collins is sneaky. As we come down, we mentioned Ibuka. His price is going up and up. I would get cute there and go Ryan Miller. I really would. I don't hate that. AJ Brown, you mentioned. I like both Eagles receivers. But here's what I want to get to here. So Xavier Worthy coming back, 5'8" DraftKings. Just below him, Drake London, 5,700 DraftKings, 7-1 on Fanduel. Drake London is going to be targeted a ton. When you look at the matchup against Washington, it's going to be Marshawn Lattimore or Sanistril. Not very good. Give me Drake London. Washington allowing the 6th most fantasy points right now to opposing wide receivers. In that same, Quentin Johnston, 5'5" DraftKings. What is he on FanDuel? 6'2" on FanDuel. Love that play. So Quentin becomes a much better play on FanDuel. The Giants have allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers so far this year. You look at that matchup, Paulson Adebo, Andrew Phillips, or Cordell Flott. No. Give me some Quentin Johnston, who appears to be their big play guy out there in LA. Jacoby Myers, 5'4" DraftKings, 6'1" FanDuel. The Bears have allowed the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. He's the clear number 1. I love me some Jacoby Myers as well. You have Keenan Allen in this price range. Chris Olave, another target monster, 14 targets last week. This might be my favorite wide receiver play on the board, Chris Olave. Buffalo's going to be in the lead. That secondary is terrible. Just the 2 weeks in weeks 1 and 3, 27 targets between those 2 games, double-digit fantasy points every week, 5-1 DraftKings, 6K FanDuel. I love Chris Olave.
Yeah, Chris Olave is going to be there. Rattler's going to have to throw the ball a little bit to him. You mentioned London. Like, when we're done in the Patreon, I am putting in Drake London over. When you look at him, I mentioned that he averages over 30 yards more per game, indoors versus outdoors. And he went over 100 yards against this same Washington team last year. And he has a 26% target share for the Falcons. And what was my other stat I want to give out? He averages 6.6 yards a target, 59% target rate. Went over him for 100 last year. Commanders 22nd DVOA defending wide receiver ones, 4th most yards per catch, 11th most yards per game to opposing wide receivers. Yeah, Drake London, great call.
Drake London, yeah. And again, all this stuff's going to be on our Patreon, the full wide receiver cornerback matchup chart, breakdown. That's all in the Patreon. Click that link, $15 a month. DFS Huddle, patreon.com, DFS Huddle. That's what you're looking for. There are a couple more receivers, some value guys. Darnell Mooney, another Falcon. He made his return last week, 11 targets. That offense scores a little bit. 47 DraftKings, 5-7 FanDuel, like some Darnell Mooney. I think Rashid Shaheed, again, I think the Saints are going to have to throw it to keep up with Buffalo. It's 4,600 DraftKings, 5-5 FanDuel. And let's get down here. Trey Tucker for the Raiders. Burst on, I mean, he had a touchdown a couple weeks ago. He's their big play guy. But last week, 9 targets, 44 DraftKings points. He's 4,200 on DraftKings. The Bears, again, allow the second most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. You mentioned Sterling Shepard. I like that. One guy I want to mention from the Titans, Elik Ayamanor. This guy, just every time he's on the screen, is scoring a touchdown. 14, he's 3,900 on DraftKings, 5-4 on FanDuel. I think he makes some sense as well. Just getting down here into some of these snap guys. Kendrick Bourne could be interesting for the Niners. Keep an eye on Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall injuries. Kendrick Bourne with the return of
Xavier Legette's out for the Panthers. Obviously, we're looking at Hunter Renfrow.
Oh, yeah, and that's a great matchup in the slot. I'm glad you mentioned that. So Carolina in the slot. They're going to get Marcus Jones for the Patriots. By far, their worst secondary player. 21% target rate on defensive snaps, 0.47 fantasy points per route ran against. Hunter Renfrow has a great matchup. And one other guy just way down here I want to just throw in the ring here is Parker Washington for Jacksonville. I know they have all these weapons, but they love this kid. 11 targets. Paced the Jags in targets last week. 49ers banged up across the board there, and that secondary not great. Parker Washington could be interesting as well at 3,700. Wide receivers, always a long category. All right, let's move to tight ends. Let's get to the tight ends. What do you like at tight end this week, Eric? Interesting, too. Not real expensive guys. It goes 5-8, then 4-8, then 4-6. A little bit different than some weeks.
I mean, first of all, with the tight end position, I mean, do we go back to Hunter? I mean, he's playing against the Carolina Panthers. Panthers give up 74 yards per game to opposing wide receivers, 15.4 DraftKings points. Obviously, interested in Hunter Henry. And is this the Kelsey game? Backs against the wall, going up against the Ravens. Ravens give up 72.7 yards per game to opposing tight ends, 15.9 DraftKings points. Must win. They're going to lean on their dudes. You know what I mean? Like, that's definitely an interesting one for me. Interested in Kyle Pitts if he's hurt. I believe he missed last week. Commanders, 71 yards to opposing tight ends.
No, he played. He just didn't do. He had 6 targets last week.
Okay. 71, 15.4 DraftKings points. That's kind of where my head is. I mean, either Hunter Henry, Travis Kelce, or Kyle Pitts. I really don't want to pay up for Brock Bowers. I don't really want to be in the TJ Warren game. And these other tight ends, like you look at the next two, Warren, I mean, I think the Rams are going to look to scheme to take him away. Buffalo, if this turns into a run game, they get up big and not getting the production early. Same thing with Laporta. Andrews, I don't want a piece of after his 2 touchdown game against the Lions. Juwan Johnson is Rattler's favorite target. Obviously, he's got some interest too. I'd be looking at him. So, I mean, I guess that would be it. Pitts, Johnson, Kelce, Hunter Henry. That's kind of where my head is right now.
Yeah, I love the Travis Kelce call. That's going to be, it's a free play. It's going to be in the Patreon, 40 yards receiving, 40-plus yards receiving, minus 115. Baltimore allows the 8th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. We've seen Dalton Kincaid. We've seen Sam Laporta. All of them have good games. That's where you want to attack Baltimore. That's the weakness. The middle of the field, the middle of that defense in the secondary. I think Travis Kelce has a nice week this week. Also sitting on my guillotine team league this week. Woo! It's going to be a week for Team Tua Girls One. Oh, I think I changed it to my name. Going down, I love the Juwan Johnson call. 4-2 DraftKings, 5-7 FanDuel. Love Juwan Johnson. Buffalo, though, 3rd against opposing tight ends, so that's something to keep in mind. Hunter Henry, 4,000 DraftKings, 5-5 FanDuel. You mentioned it. 11 targets last week, 29 fantasy points. Carolina allows the 7th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Kyle Pitts, you mentioned it, 3,600, 5-2. I like him a lot. Washington allowing the 6th most fantasy points so far to opposing tight ends. Going further down, I mentioned the middle of the field, Parker Washington, etc. Brenton Strange against the 49ers, allowing the 10th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. 7 targets last week, double-digit fantasy points twice this year already. I like Brenton Strange, 3,200 DraftKings, 5-1 on Fanduel, and I think that is about it. I'd keep an eye on guys like Cade Otton. I think there's some upside there. He hasn't really got there yet, but with Mike Evans hurt, Godwin coming back, I think Cade Otton, sort of this familiar target, could be interesting there as well. I said Brenton Strange. I just said it.
Sorry.
3,200 DraftKings.
The traditional Friday afternoon Xfinity internet being like shit, and I'm on my phone's connection right now. So my bad.
Oh, you're using the hotspot? Shout out to them.
Hotspot. What about Higbee against the Colts?
I don't hate it. Is Devontae Adams? Do we have an update on Devontae Adams?
Let me see.
Because there could be some value there with Rams.
Still listed as questionable. Let me look on the old Twitter machine.
Let me see the snap percentages here for Rams tight ends. Let me take a look. So Higbee, he's banged up. He was limited in practice, same as Colby Parkinson. Higbee playing 63% of the snaps, only 2 targets. He's just not being targeted. But again, if there's no Devontae Adams, then maybe Higbee becomes interesting for me.
Someone posted a video of him running routes an hour ago at practice.
Devontae Adams. So there you go. He's typically pretty tough and play. He's kind of like DeAndre Hopkins in that regard. They play through those sort of things all the time. He's always kind of banged up. Let's get to defenses. Just a few defense. Obviously, Buffalo against the Saints. I don't think I need to say much there. Detroit against that terrible Cleveland offense. Could see some Aiden Hutchinson sack, fumble, touchdowns type deals. The Chargers against a rookie quarterback. That Chargers defense has been really good. I think that's certainly in play. But one defense I'm going to be, especially if Jaden Daniels is unable to go.
He's already been ruled out.
Jaden Daniels out. Give me that Falcons defense. 2,700 DraftKings, 3-4 Fanduel. That Falcons defense is really good. Plain and simple. They are a very good, fast, athletic defense. Ball hawks in the secondary, can get after the quarterback. I like the Falcons defense, especially now no Jaden Daniels. And then just a couple sleepers deep down. I put the Jaguars here. They're finding ways to make plays. Niners could be getting Purdy back, but they've got double-digit fantasy points in 2 of the 3 weeks this year at 2,500. I think that's a sleeper. And what about Carolina's defense? We saw what they did to Atlanta last week against a New England offense that I'm not fully sold on. Carolina put up a 22 spot last week. Seem to have some momentum on their side. So if you're looking to pay down, go cheap, I think those guys are some options as well. What do you think at defenses here?
I mean, the Falcons on DK, only 27. No McLaurin, no Daniels for the Commanders. Absolute a banger spot there. Rams against the Colts, 2,900. I'm interested in that one. And the Patriots, 3,100. Those are kind of where my head is. I was a little shocked that the Texans are the 3rd highest defense. I know they're going against the Titans, but with how bad they look, a little shocked that they're that high. So yeah, I'm going to go one of those 3. More than likely, probably the Falcons. I feel like we've talked about good chalk, bad chalk. I feel the Falcons are going to be over 50% owned for the defense with what's going on. I feel they're going to be the good chalk in terms of your DFS lineups for your 50-50 lineups.
Agreed. That's everything. I'm just kind of sitting here kind of making some lineups here on DraftKings, generating some with my player pool. I kind of like this. So we got Jalen Hurts. I would probably change Judkins here to maybe like a Tony Pollard. Hurts, Pollard. Let's see if we can get an Eagles receiver in here. Let's get Devontae Smith if we can find him. What's Devontae Smith on DraftKings? There he is, 5,400. Tight end here. We can even, let's get down in here to Hunter Henry.
$4,000, yeah.
We can just, I'm going to play this Falcons defense here at 2,700. So now this gives us quite a bit here at the flex. We can go all the way up, get ourselves a running back, something like this. This is just for free here for you guys watching the show. We'll have all of our lineups posted in the Patreon as well. We can go Bucky Irving, or we can even leave some salary on the table and go Ashton Genty here.
I love that.
Jalen Hurts, Tony Pollard, James Cook. You can even go from Cook up to Barkley or something, but James Cook, Devontae Smith, Nico Collins. Could go up to Puka if we want. Let's just do Puka. Devontae
Yeah.
Smith, Puka Nakua, Hunter Henry, Ashton Jinty in the flex. Falcons defense leaves 200 on the table. It's a great lineup. Let's save that and see what that does. Let's see how that does this week. Again, we appreciate you guys. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Join the Patreon. The link's in the video description on our Twitter pages. Follow us there. All of our lineups, all that good stuff will be there as well. For myself, Eric, have a great week. We'll see you for our Monday Night Football doubleheader show. And of course, good luck on all your future wagers.